Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dugout Debrief, where today we're going to be recapping the weekend series between the Pittsburgh Pirates and Philadelphia Phillies that happened this last weekend. Now, I am well aware that this video is coming out much later than this weekend series, but I thought that this series was a real turning point in these kind of rivalry series that we saw going on the last weekend, and the Philadelphia Phillies really made a big statement. So heading in this game, the Phillies were playing much better baseball compared to what they had kind of started off with at the beginning of the year, getting a lot more offensive production from guys like, obviously, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Bryson Stott, Trey Turner's even hitting a little bit better. But the key name here in this series is Alec Boehm. And he's been kind of an unsung hero in the last few series for them, and you even see it in the series that's taking place in the midweek now. But this was really to be kind of a real test to see if the Phillies are playing the ball that they are aspiring to play, especially with the expectations they had coming into this year. And the Pirates, obviously, this is still a test for them because they're in such a battle-tested division right now. A series win against the Phillies would have been very nice. Anyways, we're going to get into Game 1, where the pitching matchup was Braxton Ashcraft versus Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola looking to kind of bounce back after a somewhat roller coaster of a start to the season. He's had a few different starts where he's gone 5+ earned runs and not the kind of innings pitch output that he's looking for. He did have a 6 innings pitch shutout game just 2 starts ago against the Miami Marlins, but he gave up 3 in his last outing, and he did not fare well against the Pirates in this go-around. Same kind of looking for Braxton Ashcraft. He's had a pretty decent start to the season. His ERA has been hovering right around 3, and that's kind of the case here in this game. He goes 6 2/3 with 4 earned runs. He's had some pretty quality starts the last 2 starts, and against the Pittsburgh Pirates offense that's been decently hot down the stretch of this kind of first quarter of the season, I'd say. He fared well and went the distance, throwing about 100 pitches. 6 2/3 out of your pitcher, can't complain. At the start of this game, we've seen O'Neal Cruz get on base. He had a nice 2-hit game today. His, obviously, sprint speed, he's in the 81st percentile. He's a fast guy. He's huge. But Garrett Stubbs hasn't really been able to play that much this season, but has a nice little throw out. That's kind of like the bigger part of this start of this game. There was some early offensive production from the Pirates. Brian Reynolds, Connor Griffin, and it kind of almost felt out of reach for the Phillies. But a home run from Schwarber in the 5th, they were kind of able to stay in the game, and Schwarber's just been unreal. He's been hitting at such a different rate this season. Like last year, he was kind of making a case for NL MVP just because of the home runs he's hit. But this year, he reaches 20 home runs at the conclusion of this game after he hit 2. And there's not really another guy in the National League that's going to be hitting like this right now. The only other guy that I can really think of is Gavin Sheets, and he's not going to be hitting 20 right now. So Schwarber back to doing his thing, not really hitting for average, but that OPS is up, and he's hitting absolute tanks. I just briefly mentioned these 2 names. Brian Reynolds and Connor Griffin are having some pretty solid starts this season. Brian Reynolds kind of tapering off a little bit over the last few games, but Connor Griffin has really found his way at the plate. Not to say that he's got some miscues going on defensively in the infield. He's been hitting so much better, and he's seeing the ball a lot better against really good pitching. I'll get to that later in the next 2 games, but he's been really seeing the ball well, and it's nice to see. Well, I think it's since he's turned 20 years old, he's been just hitting the rock. He's now hitting a .262 batting average, which is above average for a 20-year-old. He's now up into the 700s in OPS plus right around 100, which is about league average. When you're 20 years old, that's all you can really ask for. And he's got 10 stolen bases, 11 walks. I mean, 20 RBIs. You're going to see this guy fluctuate in the lineup. He could hit second. He could hit eighth. He could hit sixth. I mean, you can put this guy anywhere in the lineup. He's going to give you some offensive production. At least as of late, he has been able to. Back to the Phillies side of the ball here. Brandon Marsh been hitting for big time batting average, getting so many hits for this Phillies team, and kind of a drought offensively early in the season. I meant to say it, but these stats that I've been kind of going off of, this is as of May 19th. But Brandon Marsh is now hitting .327. He's kind of been recency bias. He hasn't had the offensive output that he had like earlier in the month, but still hitting .327, 825 OPS plus 25% above average. Probably their best contact guy on the team. Obviously, you have guys like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper had a crazy 4-hit game, which kind of propelled them to come back and beat the Pirates. But to take this game, the Phillies take this game on the road, game one. Obviously, wasn't the greatest pitching matchup, but exciting stuff coming from the Phillies, man. And at this point, they were still approaching getting back to that 500 number, and to take this game, come back, win it in extra innings, phenomenal stuff. Resiliency, they really picked it up at like the second half of the game offensively, and kind of kept things going throughout the rest of the series. Final score of game one was 11-9 Phillies in 10 innings. The stars of the game probably would be Bryce Harper. He had 4 hits, 2 RBIs. But Kyle Schwarber still had 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and he had a walk. Man, this team, which such a drought offensively to start the season, is really on the up and up. All right, moving into game 2. We had some great pitching matchups heading to this series, but we have Christopher Sanchez versus Bubba Chandler on the mound, which Bubba Chandler has some really, really good stuff. But he really he's kind of hurting himself a little bit. He's been not really finding the strike zone nearly as much this season as you'd like. And Christopher Sanchez, heading into the season, was a guy that you'd think would be competing for the NL Cy Young, and he's kind of cementing his name in that conversation right now. He's unreal. Bubba Chandler ends up going 3 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 Ks, and 4 walks, which brings his ERA up to a 5.1. Not promising for the younger talent. I know him and Skeens are good buddies. Kind of wish to see this guy pitch a little bit better, especially because he has really good stuff, but he just really can't find the strike zone right now, and that's why he's only able to go 3 innings. But Christopher Sanchez is the real story here. Complete game shutout, 6 hits, 13 Ks, brings his ERA to a staggering 1.8. I mean, this guy's so intimidating on the mound. He's so long. I don't even want to say lanky because he's solid. He's kind of Chris Sale-like, but he's a little bit more built up than he is. Got nasty stuff. It's just unreal. And I think the first base runner for the Pirates came in the bottom of the 4th inning. So he had a perfect game going until the bottom of the 4th, which is nothing short. Obviously, it's very impressive, but we've kind of seen that quite a bit this season, where pitcher has a no-hitter, perfect game going into a certain part of the game, give up that hit or that walk or that error, something, they get a base runner, and it kind of compromises their mentals a little bit, and you kind of see the wheels kind of fall off from there. But Christopher Sanchez did not lose any of his composure. He goes nutty. Bryce Harper hits a home run this game. He has 3 RBIs. Trey Turner's got 2 hits. Alec Boehm has 2 hits. Kind of talked about him earlier. He's on the up and up as well. Another offensively from the other side of the Pirates, Brian Reynolds got 2 hits. Connor Griffin has 2 hits. Connor Griffin, 2 hits off of Christopher Sanchez. That's pretty impressive to say, goes gets on base twice in a game where the guy has complete game shutty, 13 Ks. I don't know. For the young talent, that's pretty impressive and promising for the future. But getting back to Alec Bohm, he was really, really struggling to start this year at the plate. K percentage kind of gone down since then, but I feel like he just was getting, I don't want to say unlucky, but it's obviously a tough league to hit in right now, especially in the NL, but he's really starting to pick it up, and he's made some nice defensive plays. His outs above average number is I'd say slightly just above average in comparison to the rest of the league, but he's made some nice impactful plays, especially in this series. A lot of great stops. There was a nice play at the end of game 1 that did allow a run to come across, but it completely kind of torched the Pirates' hopes unless they kind of went yardo. So he's playing a lot better, and it's nice to see him get his OPS back into the 600s. Obviously, that's still not great, but his average is getting... This is obviously the stats based on May 19th, but average back into 200s. He's starting to hit, and we've even seen it in the more recent series in the midweek, but need a guy like that on your team that's going to be playing third base pretty much every day to be a solid piece at the plate. I don't really have anything else to say other than this is just a Christopher Sanchez masterclass on the mound. I mean, he could be a real superstar in the making. His last 29 and 2/3 innings pitched have been scoreless. I know he had a few kind of rough starts to begin the year, but he's looked phenomenal as time has gone on, and this Phillies team, just like that, are back in the race for the NL wild card, because the Braves are kind of running away with the NL East, but it's a packed NL right now, and the Phillies are making a name for themselves. Final score of Game 2 is 6-0 Philadelphia Phillies over the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are looking to kind of salvage their Game 3 at home on Skeens Day. Game 3 has all the markings to be a great game. Great pitching matchup between Paul Skeens and Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler back from injury. Paul Skeens has been on a heater recently since his horrid opening day start. And for baseball fans all around, this is a very exciting matchup on the mound. Paul Skeens has had like a historic whip up to this point, not walking guys at all. I think his last walk was April 13th or something like that. This guy's been insane, but it comes at the expense of the Philadelphia Phillies because they get to him. He ends up going 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 earned runs. He does have 7 strikeouts and gives up 1 walk. It did look pretty promising to start the game. He goes 4 innings pitched shutout, but then the 5th inning walks his first batter in over a month, and 2 hits from JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, kind of some unsung heroes in this game. And while this is all going on, Zach Wheeler is just dealing on the mound. Contributions from Alec Bohm again. He has another 2-hit day. Bryson Stott, 2-hit day, 3 RBIs. Bryce Harper, home runs off of Paul Skeens. That's another big-time battle that you'd like to see the hitter win sometimes, because when you have such elite pitching like that, 9 times out of 10, the elite pitching always wins, even against elite hitting. So, cool to see Bryce Harper hit a home run off of him. He's been an elite hitter this season. And that's what they really need to keep on winning games, keep competing for that NL wildcard spot. Brandon Lau is also a name I really haven't mentioned here. He's been a pretty solid piece at the start of the lineup for the Pirates this season. Nice pickup at second base. He hits what we all thought was a home run. But then obviously you go to the replay and end up being a double because the fan reaches over the fence. But that, then again, could be another thing where it rattles the pitcher, but no, he stays composed and gets out of the inning unscathed. Ends up going 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs given up, 8 Ks and 1 walk. He's all the way back. He's got 3 wins on the season already, even after coming back from injury. This Phillies lineup with that young talent in Painter, Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola is he's a proven veteran guy that can pitch good. He's not pitching good right now, but there's some names in this Phillies rotation that I can see why they had such high expectations coming into the season, because these guys are now starting to perform. Talked about this before, but Alec Boehm again, just making some nice plays. I know he was kind of getting a lot of grief online from the Philly fans, but being able to pick it up on both sides of the ball for this Phillies team on their kind of heat streak has been a massive component to getting back on track. And overall, I think after seeing this result, the Phillies, they're back over 500 as a team, and they're completely back in the race. This past packed National League is, I'd say, the NL Central obviously packed with the worst teams being the Reds and the Pirates. Essentially, you have massive contributions from the Cubs right now and the Brewers, but I think the Phillies are still better than the Pirates, the Reds, and dare I say the Brewers right now. The Brewers kind of lacking a little bit offensively. Getting guys like Christian Yelich back and Jackson Chourio are huge, but man, I can't believe I'm really saying this, but the Phillies they're playing really good baseball right now, and I'd value them over half the teams in the NL Central. After it's just the way that things have shifted in just less than 2-3 weeks. It's funny, I kind of talk about the Phillies being better than the Reds and the Pirates, just frankly because the Phillies do have the Reds right now in a series. They are at home, but it doesn't really matter. They just swept the Pirates on the road. Phillies take game 1 against the Reds. I know this episode is coming out quite late, but I just wanted to make an emphasis on how big of a series this really is for both teams. I think the Pirates almost needed a kind of beating like this, for lack of a better term, because offensively they need more production from their guys, going scoreless in 2 runs. And yes, Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, 2 phenomenal pitchers, but you gotta at least see a few runs get across the plate. Getting shut out in back-to-back games is so demoralizing. The Pirates move on, and they're playing the Cardinals, so they are still in another grueler. I don't know. This is such a great start to the season, and the way that the MLB is just shaping out right now is just so exciting. I think, obviously, the NL Central is such a big talking point, but the AL West has been so bad. Who's going to come out of there? My Rockies are playing the Rangers right now. They took game 1. There's just so many storylines in this season that I wouldn't think have been coming out of the woodworks. The Rays are just completely destroying teams on the mound and playing small ball. Yankees are kind of falling apart. There's so many different avenues you can go down in the MLB right now, and it's really exciting. With that being said, that is the end of this episode of Dugout Debrief. I would love to cover the series between the White Sox and the Mariners, because the White Sox have been on a heat streak offensively, and even pitching-wise. So many great contributions from that team. The Mariners obviously on a bit of a slide. They take game 1 against the White Sox, but I want to cover that series, and let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in. I think I'm going to cover it regardless, because the Mariners obviously had such a great run last season, and the White Sox are so unexpectedly competing for an AL Central bid right now. I know it's May, and I know it's still super early, but this team is really fun and young. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.